We're back, and I am so honored right now to have this guest on the show, really royalty of Kansas City, Mr. George Gates. Are you there?
Yes, I am. How are you?
Oh, we're just so honored to have you on the show. This is an unbelievable childhood dream of mine that I didn't even know I had. I have been and eaten at your restaurants for decades and absolutely love and adore the food. You've been a big part of our life here, and not just my family, but all of Kansas City. So we honor you. Yeah. Thank you for being on the show today.
We appreciate that. And after 75 years and going to the fifth generation, we're finally catching on what we're supposed to be doing correctly.
That's incredible.
Now, Mr. Gates...
Who could say that line right there?
Mr. Gates, I love the story of Gates, but if you could just briefly for us and our listening audience, just run through how in the world did this get started, and how did you build such a, well, I would call it a legend here in Kansas City that is all over the world now, especially with your barbecue sauces?
You know, we did it all as a service. We're in the service business, and that's what we enjoy doing, servicing the people. If you don't want to do that, you're in the wrong business. We just happen to have a excellent product that was passed down to us from generation to generation. Back in 1946, my grandfather, George Gates, bought a small restaurant called Old Kentucky Barbecue. And that's where it started, right there on 19th and Vine, back in 1946.
Wow.
And then, yeah, man, we've been doing it for a while. My father was the second generation. That's Ollie Gates and his siblings were the second generation. I'm the third generation with my siblings and my son and my daughters and my nieces and nephews are the fourth. And I even now, and he's 18, so he's just learning. But we've been going for a while. You know, it's a family business, and barbecuing is a family tradition with us. We enjoy doing it, and we enjoy servicing the people.
So George W. Gates was your grandfather?
My grandfather, George W. Gates, was my grandfather.
And he worked for the railroads, but he decided that he wanted to open a family-run barbecue restaurant. Is that right?
Something like that. How'd you get that information? You know more about it than I do.
Brian is a researcher, and if it's out there, he's going to find it.
Yeah, I should be listening to you. But yeah, he was a porter on the Rock Island Railroad, and he on the weekends would take my dad on the railroad with him, and he would clean the dishes, and they'll go up and come back down, and he knew that he had a glass ceiling that he couldn't go any further. He knew that he was doing the work of the head waiter, but wasn't getting the pay or the recognition. So he figured he could do something himself. So he found a restaurant called Old Kentucky Barbecue with a guy who was already in business. He got in business with him, and we went good for about 2 weeks. And my grandfather was kind of rambunctious, and he didn't agree with some of the things that his partner was doing or how he did it. So in about 2 or 3 weeks, he bought him out, and the rest is what you know as Gates Barbecue.
Wow. It really, there's a couple of things that Gates did for me and for the rest of Kansas City, because we are the barbecue capital of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that Gates has had, well, you've had presidents in, you've had celebrities in, you've had everybody knows Gates Barbecue.
Yeah, not just one president.
Yeah.
You know, like presidents, multiple. Plural. Yeah.
Multiple.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have multiple.
And so in 56, you underwent a change of the name to Gates & Sons Barbecue, because that's when Ollie Gates came into the picture?
Yeah, well, he came into the picture around that time. That's not exact, because he's been involved with the business from the time of his conception in 1946. He was a young teenager at that time, but he's always worked in the business, like we all did. We grew up in the business. But it was called Gates Oak Kentucky initially. And so he was part of the business. So his father, George W. Gates, named it Gates and Sons Barbecue. And it went on like that for years until he got mad at my father. Then he'd take the son down and leave it Gates Oak Kentucky. But as long as they were getting along, it was Gates and Sons Barbecue. But that happened in the probably early 50s. You're close around there.
Wow.
Well, you know, what Gates did is it overcame a couple of milestones here and in the rest of the country. First, that the myth that Kansas City could be could not be accommodated by more than one barbecue restaurant. I mean, you guys proved that wrong. And you were the first ones to really do that, right?
Well, to my recollection, you're probably right. We were probably the first one to have multi-type restaurants, barbecue restaurants, anyway, barbecue restaurants. But you know it's wrong because there's 128 restaurants, barbecue restaurants in Kansas City right now.
That's what you started.
Yeah, but no one knew it until you guys did it.
Is that right? You guys are too kind.
No, it's true.
That's
no,
really
no.
true.
You guys are such pioneers. You don't even realize what amazing things you've done. It's just normal for you all. But we literally have been changed. You've changed the face of restauranteering, really,
especially in the United States. I mean,
oh yeah,
there's barbecue now all over. I know there was back then, but nothing like what you guys started. And more importantly, how did you come up with that sauce? I have to know. Don't tell me any secrets.
Again, you know, it began with George W. Gates, our grandfather, the pioneer who started all. He had the sauce, him and his cook, a guy named Arthur Pinkert. So they toyed around with it until they came up with a recipe that they thought would be acceptable to sell, but still have something special. And we always call it the Gates flavor. You got to have whatever you taste in Gates, it has the same bottom basic flavor because you know that's the Gates product. And they started that again back in 1946. Came up with that barbecue sauce. They have not changed it since then. We've had little variations on it. We have new products, you know, the sweet and mild and the extra hot. But that classic has not changed basically over the last 76 years. It's the same sauce that we made in tubs that I used to make in a wash machine.
No kidding.
Yeah, man, I made it in the wash machine, one of those old Maytag agitating type wash machines. That was my mixer back then. I opened up a number 10 can with can openers, a beer opener, and poured it into that wash machine. This was back in the 60s, early 60s. But yeah, I did it, and my grandfather did it before then, and my father did it at the same time.
That's incredible.
We've been using wash machines for a lot of things besides washing clothes. Let me tell you.
And now the barbecue sauce is you got it into every metropolitan grocery store when you did the plant. I think that was what was that back in 75 or what? No,
in 75 is where we started actually selling to supermarkets. A friend of ours named Henry Riojas was the buyer for us wholesale grocery called Milgram's. Milgram's was a retail store.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, man. And he was a buyer for Milgram's, and he put us in there and hadn't looked back since. And after that, Henry came and worked with us for over 35 years before he passed away. So Henry was a good friend. He's the one that got us into that market. And we really started mass producing in 75, but we always did it by hand and in bottles and sold it in the restaurants or small retail stores, you know, since we've been bottling it. But you had to be careful because back then in the early 60s, we didn't really have any preservatives in it. And sometimes that stuff would start fermenting and the bottle start exploding, pop, 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 and sauce was going everywhere. So we had to understand we had to have some preservatives in there And we evolved over the years to make sure that it was not only good and tasty, but it was healthy, and we made it wisely.
Now, that sauce is available almost everywhere across the country. Well, even in the world, right? I mean, I talked to an individual that is a friend of mine, and I said we were going to have you on the show, and they live in Arizona, and they said, no, we've got Gates right here in our grocery store, our local grocery store. We have it right here.
And some places, it's sporadic throughout the country and throughout the world, sporadically. But our main foothold right now is that Midwest, or what we call the 5th Army Division, from Minnesota to the Dakotas to Iowa to Nebraska to Colorado to Missouri to Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and now we're going to Texas. That's our main focus right now, where we have a toehold and people know us in this area. Outside the areas, they don't know you that well. It's kind of hard to put your sauce out there. It's kind of hard to put a bottle of sauce in Connecticut when people are not familiar with you, even though they might have heard of you, but not familiar with you. So we're going to stay in this area where we know we have a toehold, and we'll grow outside of that little by little. That's why we call it Kansas City's own. So, we have a base, but it's Kansas City.
And you are a local Kansas City family-owned company since 1946.
Correct.
Now, I have 2 questions for you.
Sure.
I've been in the restaurant business for the last 20 years. I got out of it and decided that I'd just go into a food show for a radio show because I'm too old. But how in the world, when you call out orders without any tickets or anything, do your cooks back in the kitchen know how to keep up? I mean, that's intense training.
That has always impressed me.
Me too.
Oh, my goodness.
And it's a system. And we don't have numbers. We don't have a chalkboard. We don't have it. It's a system.
It's unbelievable.
And so when they call it back to you, what you would do. Now, I can't really tell you our secret. Then it will be a secret. And everybody
we're not asking you to. We're just saying that we're impressed every time you go in.
Yeah, boy,
well, thank you.
They know exactly what to do and all. And it blows my mind. And
I kind of relate that to. Do you remember the marching cobras that Willie Smith had in Kansas?
Do we remember?
Yes,
absolutely.
Now, they were great.
Yes,
they were called organized madness because they'd be going every which way.
Oh yeah,
and that's how I relate to what we do. It's an organized madness that we have. We know what we're doing. It's organized, but it doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of fun with it. A lot of fun.
Who came up with "Hi, may I help you"?
That was my dad made the final decision, but it was a family thing. We were sitting down, and we knew that we had to have a catch. We knew we had to have a system, and it's a system that we could teach people. So when a guest came in, we could take them through the whole experience and do it correctly each and every time. So that's a part of the whole conversation. Hi, may I help you? It's a greeting. And after the greeting, we ask you, is it to stay? And then we'll take your order. But it's a process that we want to make sure that our guests will get the whole experience and get what they need and what they want correct and on time. We want to make sure our customers get correct product as efficiently as they can and as quickly as they can. So,
Mr. Gates, we, again, much honor to you, sir, for keeping it going. We hope you never leave Kansas City. And, for those of you that are Gates fans, it sounds like you need to buy some sauce and send it to all your friends in Texas.
Oh, and listen, by right now, you do shipping for yes.
So these are great Christmas gifts. Help a local Kansas City restaurant out and send them to all your Texas friends.
Drew, I don't think they need any help.
Hey, we all could use a little help.
We need all the help we can get, okay?
Texas is a big place. Texas is a big place.
And Texas and Memphis.
And and I also just want to thank Kristen with Heartland Payments for lining this up, and we're so honored to have you on the show. We don't want to take up too much of your time. Thank you for being on the Love KC Food Show.
We appreciate you all, and we love you guys, and keep up the good work, okay?
All right. Thank you, sir, very much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, may I help you?